This is not the first hearing we've had in this subcommittee on contracting in our contingency operations. And I have began working on this problem almost the day I arrived in the Senate, when I traveled to Iraq to do nothing but look at contracting oversight, because I couldn't figure out how in the world things had gotten so out of control in terms of contracting in Iraq. I went over to Iraq and I realized why they'd gotten out of control. The contracting representatives in each unit were just the low man on the totem pole that had been handed a clipboard. There was no training. There was not sufficient effort made on sustainability. There were decisions made that, frankly, were made with almost a myopic look at the mission and not a realistic look at security and sustainability and competency in terms of available personnel to continue whatever money we were spending on reconstruction. The sad thing about this hearing is I'd been hopeful back in 2007 that by this year we would have done a lot to overcome some of the problems in reconstruction contracting in theater. This hearing does not make me feel good about the progress we've made. There has been some progress, but the American people can't afford this anymore. In next year's budget, the President has requested $17.3 billion for reconstruction contracting in Afghanistan. Now, that's a big number if the United States of America was humming along. That's a big number if our roads weren't crumbling because we don't have the money to fix them. That's a big number if we are not looking at cutting many programs that are essential to the health and welfare of this nation. But in light of the fact that we are facing the fiscal problems we are in this country, that's an enormous number that is going to go into the country of Afghanistan to build roads, to build public structures, whether they're schools or other public structures. And I think it has now become an urgent matter for this Congress to look seriously at whether or not that kind of reconstruction money is absolutely essential to our mission in Afghanistan. I'm not sure that the government and contractors have taken the steps necessary to provide the transparency and accountability that we have to demand in light of the incredible difficult decisions that we're faced with in the United States Congress in terms of our fiscal picture in this country. This is the 10th year, and we have spent over $61 billion total already on reconstruction, and the vast majority of the spending has been through contractors. Defense Department and USAID are primarily responsible for this, and part of our problem that we will talk about today is that no one is totally responsible. There's no one that I can really find that wants to say, I'm responsible. In fact, I will be surprised if I don't hear testimony today from people that say, you know, I'm not really responsible. It is time that somebody is responsible for money that is spent on roads that will not ever be sustained, and for buildings and electrical power facilities that are built that no one there even knows how to use, much less access the power that supposedly we are going to provide. It is time for someone to step forward and say, I'm responsible. I'm the one that's planning these projects. I'm the one that's certifying sustainability. The Department of Defense isn't even certifying sustainability. And we all know that the SERP funds, which originally were entitled, I remember at the beginning we talked about SERP. And here's what SERP was supposed to be. It was supposed to be almost like walking around money. It was supposed to be money that was used by various units that were on the ground in Iraq to, the example I was given, I'll never forget, in one of my very first armed services hearing, well, Senator, this is if one of our sergeants is on the ground in a community and he knows there's a really good guy who's stabilizing the neighborhood and the window of his store is broken. And we need that sergeant to be able to say to that store owner, you know, I got the money right here to fix your window. That provides goodwill, it provides stability, it's the kind of thing that wins the hearts and minds, it gives people a sense of community. We have gone from broken store windows to hundreds of millions of dollars of construction projects in SERP. And meanwhile, no one has really taken ownership of what is the difference between the responsibilities of AID, which traditionally has done big construction, and the responsibilities of the Department of Defense, that is now engaged in seriously large projects for construction. Are the Corps getting better training now? The contracting representatives within the units? Yes, they are. And I congratulate General Caldwell and others that have worked on doing better training. But we're still not where we need to be. And I will tell you that if we do not get some strong substantive answers, that every dime that is being spent in Afghanistan on reconstruction is being spent wisely and being spent with the kind of oversight that we would expect if we were building a highway down the road in the United States of America, then I think it's time that we focus on the mission where we are training security forces and we are working to provide stability against Taliban and the kind of structure that we need to support going after al-Qaeda on the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan. But perhaps it's time to shut down $17 billion worth of money going for reconstruction projects when our track record really stinks when it comes to reconstruction projects. I think it is really time for a gut check, because I've got too many people in Missouri saying, why can't we fix this road? And then I look at the projects that we're building in Afghanistan, and it's very hard to explain to them why we can't fix that road, because we can't afford it. But yet we can throw money away in Afghanistan on projects that are clearly not sustainable. And if anybody would have spent any time thinking about it in the first place, they would have realized that. And that kind of planning has to begin happening, and that kind of accountability has to be present.